Live from Studio M in Huntington, Long Island, New York. It's Randy G, the commish, on a new platform, if you will. It's my Randy's Ringside on Facebook because I have my Randy Commish Gordon, which is my standard, which most of you guys are all friends of mine. But now we moved it over to this other platform. I can't really explain it. It's Randy G in my usual, it's Randy's Ringside with all of you Randy's Raiders, me and the voice, Marcello.
Good evening, Commish. Good evening. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight.
See?
Good evening to Randy's Raiders. That's what you wanted me to say, right? Randy's Raiders.
You have that script in front of you?
Yeah, I have the script. I have the little kickback too. Thank you very much for that. So, good evening, everybody. Good evening, Commish. How was your weekend?
It was just a lot of hot dogs.
A lot of hot dogs.
A lot of hot dogs.
Hot dogs.
Both in the ring and outside of the ring. Yeah, I hope everybody had a great Labor Day. And in the condo that I live in, they shut the pool down right after about 8 o'clock Labor Day. I don't care if the next month is going to be 90 degrees, sunshine, whatever. They shut it down. My new place that Queen Ronnie and I are going to be moving into, they're going to keep it open as long as we want. So that I love. So we actually, me and about 23, 24 of our neighbors had a little party yesterday. Pizza party, hot dog party. And Marcello, I ate something like 8 hot dogs.
8 hot dogs?
Yeah.
Okay.
And boy, can you guys picture that what's his name, the guy who wins the Nathan's hot dog eating contest?
I don't know. Why is it that the skinniest guy eats the most hot dogs?
I don't know how he does it.
It's like a mariachi band. Why does the most biggest guy in the mariachi band have the smallest guitar, and the smallest guy have the largest guitar? I don't get it. So why? Yeah, it's like this. It's like this guy that's like 150 pounds soaking wet.
Joey Chestnut. Joey Chestnut.
All right, Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut puts down year after year, beats everybody, the biggest guys, the fattest guys, whatever that you would think would out-eat him. Joey Chestnut, every July 4th, eats around 70 some odd hot dogs in about 10 minutes. Now, I did my 6 in about 10 minutes. I mean, the roll and everything. I even took one of the rolls and I dunked it in water and I put it in. I tried to do it like Joey Chestnut. I mean, I really think I could do...
What was that noise again, Randy? Can you do that?
I really think I could do about 15 or 20, but to do it at the pace he does, no let up, one after the other. Joey Chestnut, we got to get Joey Chestnut on here one of these days and just talk about, not boxing, but I want to talk about hot dog eating. But that's what we did over the weekend. We partied, we had some great pizza, and we want to thank everybody over at La Piazza for their tremendous pizzas. So that's what we did. And
are they kosher dogs, Randy? Of course. Richard wants to know.
No,
not kosher dogs.
No, I believe they were another brand, but damn, they were good.
Oh, okay. Well, I want to say good evening tonight. We got a bunch of people on tonight. We've got our old buddy Farley. He's on. Rich Manitoba is on. Let's see. Please feel free to shout out, say hi, ask Randy a question. We got Jeff Tavel is here. Artie Lamparella. Artie, good evening. And good evening, everybody. Steve Schroeder is here telling us that the Mets are losing, Randy, unfortunately.
Yeah, I know. Just before we went on, I looked, I saw that the Mets were down. They are in a slump. Their bats have turned into spaghetti. They are just not hitting, and it's painful. Because we've watched since opening day, they've led the National League East, and now they are in a tailspin, and it hurts. But I am still a Met fan, and if, they still can get there. So let's not bury the Mets yet. I still think they're going to do it. They're in a slump, that's all.
And I want to say a special shout out to the Queen herself has joined the conversation. Queen Ronnie.
There we go.
Is in the building.
She, and a big special shout out to her, because I got to tell you, all these neighbors of ours, they were trying to figure out how to do the party and this and that. And Queen Ronnie stepped in and she said, here's what we're going to do. Because this one wanted to do this, and this one wanted to do that, and this one didn't want pizza. This one did want pizza. This one wanted sandwiches. This one subs. Queen Ronnie stepped in, and however she does it, she led the party. She put it together. So, honey, thank you so much.
And that is why she's the queen. That is why she's the queen. Well, how about we talk some boxing tonight, Randy?
I would love it. And you got some great shout outs in there. And again, Artie Lamparella and all these guys who are jumping aboard over here, and Steve Schroeder from Tucson, Arizona. And Artie Lamparella, I love talking about this. I met Artie years ago. He was a school teacher in Anchorage, Alaska. And he now lives in Mesa, Arizona. I wonder how long it took him to thaw out when he went from Anchorage to Mesa. I bet you it took him about a year to thaw out.
That's you're going from like I said last time, you're going from the freezer to the oven. How does that happen? How do you do that? That's too much of a shock on my body. No, thank you.
And I remember doing the show. It was Alexis Arguello against Pat Jefferson, and we had to do the opening. So they said, okay, Randy, you're going to do this opening. And I said, let me be kind of creative. And it was like, in Key Largo, Florida today, it was 90 degrees. But we're not in Key Largo. We're, 4,200 miles away from Key Largo, in a place called Anchorage, Alaska, where today it wasn't 95 degrees. It was a frosty -5 degrees Fahrenheit.
No,
Hi again, everybody. Randy G. And we went into the show and everything.
No, I can't do that. I'm sorry. No. I'm sorry. I can't do that.
That was Anchorage, Alaska. And I loved how, so tonight, you put up the Randy's Ringside, and you got the music playing, because people were jumping on when I was still putting on the headset and getting the microphones set up.
Everybody's excited, Randy. We want
Of course. Want to talk boxing. We are going to talk boxing. Let's talk about the fight that we saw over the weekend. The fights, actually, that we saw over the weekend. The big one, of course, which was on Fox pay-per-view. It was Sunday evening on Fox pay-per-view. Andy Ruiz against Luis King Kong Ortiz. And King Kong Ortiz, well, King Kong never showed up. Luis Ortiz, all 43 or 44 or 45-year-old Luis Ortiz, whatever he is, minimum 43. And he looked every bit of being 43. This is why fighters, maybe they can still fight a bit at 43, but they're no longer world class. If you haven't noticed, once you get into your late 30s, you're not the same athlete that you were 15, 20 years earlier. And Ortiz really showed it. He fought a guy who fought an uninspired fight in Andy Ruiz. And yet, this heavyweight division, I think, is so paltry right now that both are considered two of the very best. And I got to tell you, Andy Ruiz knocked Ortiz down twice in the second round. He dropped him again a little bit later in the seventh round, I believe it was, and yet fought so uninspired that he allowed Ortiz to get back into the fight. And the scorecards were amazing. Two of them were 114, 111, two of them. And another was by 1 point for Andy Ruiz, 113, 112. What that means, if those knockdowns did not occur, then Luis Ortiz would have won the fight. Because remember, in that second round, with the two knockdowns, you've got yourself a 10-7 round. And I even make it sometimes if it's two knockdowns and the guy who knocked you down was actually winning every second along the way, I'll even make it a 10-6 round. So it was on the scorecards 10-7. So he wins it by 3 points on that card. And then in the seventh round, when Ortiz went down, it was a 10-8 round. So he's already 4 points behind. And you see the scorecards, 114, 111 twice, and 113, 112. So all I know is that Ortiz, who's now 33-3, those three losses, 2 to Wilder, and now 1 to Andy Ruiz, I'd have to really think that it's over for him because he's a dangerous fighter. Who wants to fight him now? If I had a heavyweight, he's not boxing Luis Ortiz. It means nothing. And at this point, I think you're going to hear any day now that he is going to announce his retirement. Andy Ruiz, basically after the fight, he said he'd love to fight Deontay Wilder. And Deontay Wilder is going to be facing Robert Helenius on October 15th. Now, there's a lot of people who say that Robert Helenius was a little bit taller than Deontay Wilder. Wilder goes about 6'7". Helenius goes 6'7.5", maybe 6'8". He's an all-around better boxer than Deontay Wilder is. But I think we're going to see a tremendous Wilder. And I think that right hand, that bomb of a right hand, is going to be back again. And I think the bomb squad will return again. And I see him knocking Helenius out. What happens then? Then I believe it's going to be Andy Ruiz against Deontay Wilder. They're not going to be able to put it together this year. But sometime before the winter of 2023 is over, you will see Andy Ruiz against Deontay Wilder. And if Andy Ruiz fights the way he fought the other night against King Kong Ortiz, Deontay Wilder is going to knock him out. So, Marcello, you asked me the other day whether I think Deontay Wilder can come back. The answer is yes. I think
he's got a career. He's got a huge career ahead of him. I mean, aren't they even talking about Usyk for Deontay Wilder?
Yes, but not yet, because the fight that makes sense for Usyk, the one that should
obviously
happen,
is Tyson Fury. Yeah.
But Tyson Fury is now playing some games with this and saying that, hey, Usyk, you don't want the fight, then I'll fight Joshua. And of course, everybody wanted to see Anthony Joshua. And in the United Kingdom, especially in the UK, had Anthony Joshua beaten Usyk a couple of weeks ago, then of course this all-British matchup would have been at least a 90,000 fan crowd at a place like Wembley Stadium. Now, it still will be a big fight. It might even be 90,000, but it won't mean the same thing as for the undisputed, and I don't care what belts are attached to it or what organization strips Usyk of the title for not fighting their mandatory, whatever. I don't care, because we all know that Usyk is the champ. We know that Fury is a champ. And all we care about is the fact that that is the fight that should happen. That's the fight that has to happen. So that's what's next for, I think, Andy Ruiz is going to be Deontay Wilder, because Wilder should beat. I'm going to be shocked if Deontay Wilder does not beat Robert Helenius. I'm going to be ringside with gentleman Jerry Cooney on October 15th at the Barclays Center, and I really expect that Wilder will win. Now, what happens if Helenius should beat him? Then the world is his. Then I think he would get the shot against Andy Ruiz. But I just was not impressed whatsoever with Andy Ruiz. The only night I was impressed with him was the night of June 1st, 2019, when he knocked out Anthony Joshua. And on that night, I actually saw a lot from Andy Ruiz, but I think I saw a lot less from Anthony Joshua. That was the night that I saw he has so many holes in his game. But you ask me, what do I think is next for Andy Ruiz? He called out Wilder. Wilder's not one to back down from the challenge. He wants some big fights. He'll get Ruiz, and I think he's going to get him early in 2023. A fun fight, but I cannot see Deontay Wilder losing that fight.
All right, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua. It's going to happen?
See, that's another fun fight. But let Anthony Joshua come back first. You can't keep taking this guy and throwing him into title fights, because at this point, he doesn't really deserve it. He's had 2 shots against Usyk, lost his title to Usyk, then has a rematch to get his title back, and he was favored to get his title back, and he was out-hustled once again by the very gifted, talented Alexander Usyk. So in my mind, he's got to face some top contender. I'd love to see him fight the once beaten, very tall Otto Wallin, who's been looking for a big fight, wants a fight like this. Give it to Otto Wallin. Otto is ready for the fight now, and Anthony Joshua says he wants to fight before the end of the year. Perfect matchup. Two tall guys, one a decent puncher in Anthony Joshua, but I think the better all-around skilled fighter is Otto Wallin. I would not be shocked if he outpointed Anthony Joshua.
Okay, well, that is quite interesting. Well, I want to welcome some more viewers tonight. We got Jake Wishoff here. We've got Joe Tetro here, and Danny Schiavone is here. Everybody is chiming in right now. Artie says that it took him a month to defrost.
I figured it was longer. I thought it was about a year.
Yeah.
And everybody gets Dan. Danny is an outstanding, not just world-class referee. Danny Schiavone. Out of the New England area.
Him up with the professional wrestling announcer. Tony Schiavone.
He has been doing. He's been in some movies. He's branching off into announcing, by the way, and I hope to hear him on headset and mic very, very soon. So, Danny, we love you as a ref, but I got to tell you, can't wait till you make your debut as a boxing announcer. I think you do a tremendous job. I mean, I know that you would get heat, and he would get heat. Think about this. You know, you're a referee, you put the headset on. What if you have to criticize somebody? Well, if you're a ref and you criticize somebody, you got the rest of the referees out there saying, okay, one day you're going to be in there and you may mess up. But the fact is, Danny will speak his mind. And what I know about Dan and what I think is just tremendous, Danny's the kind of guy. He will call it as he sees it. And I think he really will make, when that day comes, I think he really will make a terrific announcer.
Yeah, I want to jump off something that Joe just said, going off, Joe Tetro just said something that going off of you. And Joe said that Wilder lost his last three outings. So you said that he doesn't deserve to be back in the spotlight. So Joe's kind of agreeing with you. He thinks that, it's not, he doesn't deserve to have his own pay-per-view and everything like that, but he's still a draw. Well,
he hasn't lost his last three. He lost his last two to Tyson Fury.
Right.
And one was a draw. And I actually thought, on my scorecard, I thought that Deontay Wilder won that fight.
Really? Okay. But you don't think he deserves a shot? You don't think he's paid his dues enough to come back?
I think he's paid his dues, but just like Anthony Joshua, you can't just get in there every time
they're a draw
for a title fight.
People will buy tickets to see them, and isn't that,
sure.
So
put him in. Are you kidding? If Deontay Wilder was to fight Andy Ruiz,
you don't think Wilder Joshua would be a bigger fight than Ruiz?
I think. See, the thing is, Andy Ruiz is coming off this win over a guy that just nobody would fight, basically, except Deontay Wilder, and that's Luis Ortiz. And Andy Ruiz beat him. It wasn't a close decision. I mean, I don't know what those judges were looking at. It wasn't close. I was watching the fight. It was competitive on the part of Ortiz, I think more so than Andy Ruiz. And it was, you got to score it round by round. Some rounds I was given to Ruiz, but I mean, it wasn't 113, 111 because of those three knockdowns.
Right.
But I do believe that Andy Ruiz belongs in a bigger fight right now. He called out Wilder. Why not make the fight? It's a perfect heavyweight matchup between two former heavyweight champions. I don't think a fight really could get much bigger, although I would like to see down the road, let Wilder beat Ruiz, let Anthony Joshua win his next fight, and then let them elevate to fight each other. And then sometime later in 2023, then the winner of that fight can fight, well, let's say the winner of Usyk and Tyson Fury in a massive heavyweight matchup.
Yeah. That sounds good. I like that. Well, we want to keep going, and we got some more people to say. Ron, oh man, I'm gonna butcher this last name. So Ron, I apologize in advance. Silag.
Right, Ron Silag.
Silag. Okay, I'm sorry, Ron. Please forgive me. As someone with a non-traditional last name and name in general, I know what it's like for people to mess up my name. So I'm very sensitive to
Well,
that.
I
So
know
apologize,
this.
Ron.
He is a Long Islander who happens to love my favorite restaurant, Popeyes. And I know he and his wife went there the other night. I was very upset because we had other plans. Otherwise, I would have met Ronnie C. and his beautiful bride at my favorite restaurant, Popeyes. So I hope you had as wonderful time at Popeyes as me. And no, it's not Popeyes. You guys see
Everybody
my
thinks
Facebook
it's that
page.
chicken place.
No, it's not that. It's fish and ribs, and you can get.
We
meat
need to
there
do a
and-
live remote from Popeyes, Randy. We need to do a live Randy's Ringside from Popeyes. We should do that.
I'm ready to go right now.
Yeah, let's hop in
put
the
everything
car.
in the car
I'll
and let's
get
go
a
right
couple
now.
batteries. We'll pop them in.
Over the
All right.
weekend, there were a couple of more fights of note. Isaac Cruz, you can't be a contender and have a better outing than this. Isaac Cruz went in against very tough Eduardo Ramirez and blew him out of there in the first round. Great referee Jack Reese was the ref for that one. Looked absolutely flawless as Ramirez was getting blasted, went down. When he got up, Jack Reese made him walk this way and that way and gave him the old sobriety test, looked in his eyes, said, okay, let's go. Waved him on, but then watched him because Cruz blasted him. And as he was blasting him, at that point, he went down again, but this time it was over. Jack Reese waved it over. First round knockout for Isaac Cruz, who, in my mind, you got to put him in there with the top lightweights in the world. Do not put him outside of that. Put him right in there. He's already fought Gervonta Davis, went to a decision with Davis. Put him in there with any of the top lightweights, and every one of them are going to have the same hard time fighting him as Gervonta Davis did. In fact, that was the fight that really showed me a lot about Gervonta Davis. So Isaac Cruz is now 24-2 with one draw. He's got 17 knockouts, as good as anybody in that lightweight division. Also, there was a fight. This was his comeback fight. Abner Mares. He had been off for slightly over 4 years. He fought Leo Santa Cruz. He suffered an eye injury, retina. He needed surgery, and then he needed time off. And then with the time off came the pandemic. He stayed clear of everything, and it's been 4 years. He climbed in the ring the other night against Miguel Flores. Very tough Miguel Flores. And you know what? Abner Mares, early in the fight, first, second round, looked like he might stop Miguel Flores. Had him wobbling, had him hurt. But then Flores, he let Flores back in. And Abner Mares is really not a one-punch hitter. And Abner, now fighting basically as a lightweight, can't do it. Not at that weight. Abner Mares, we know him as a much lighter fighter. All I know is that Mares, it was a majority draw over 10 rounds against Miguel Flores. And I really believe that Abner Mares, who is now announcing with Showtime, should keep the headset on, keep the microphone in front of him, because he's got a real nice career over there. It is over, Abner, as a fighter. And at least you went out with a draw. You didn't lose the fight. I know you wanted to have a win here, maybe do what we call a one-off. It
A
wasn't.
victory lap.
You know what? Maybe a rematch, but there should be no bigger fights for Abner Mares. I see him getting hurt if he fights one of the real top guys.
Whose responsibility is it to let the fighter know that it's done? He's got. I mean, is it his management? Is it his trainer?
Yeah.
Whose responsibility is it to say, all right, you got to stop. You're done. You can't do this anymore. I mean, who should that really be if the fighter isn't really listening? Who really should say that?
That's got to be...
Because, management, they're going to want to still make money.
Yes, but listen, when I managed Bone Crusher Smith, we guided him to the heavyweight championship of the world, got him a fight against Mike Tyson. And Bone Crusher was the heavyweight champ of the world because he had knocked out a few months earlier. He had knocked out Tim Witherspoon in the very first round. And against Tyson, I pleaded with him, do not go to Vegas and read the press clippings. Keep the television off. Don't read the press clippings because, Bone Crusher, the media is not picking you. They're picking Mike Tyson. And at this point, Mike Tyson was unbeaten, and he was a feared fighter. But Bone Crusher was confident of beating him. So were we. We really knew that if he did what he had to do, he would beat Tyson. And that night, he held on, he held on, he held on. Tyson in the first round was throwing everything from shoulders and elbows and his head in there, butted Bone Crusher and cut him. And Bone Crusher started to hold him, and he went from being Bone Crusher to Bone Hugger. And he lost a 12-round decision in the fight, not really opening up until the 12th round. But after that, I didn't want to see him become an opponent any longer and just be in the B side and put in against all the young, up-and-coming heavyweights or whatever.
A ham and egger, basically.
And I told him, and in our private chats, I called him Jimmy. And I said, Jimmy, it's over. Say goodnight. And he said, I think you're right. But a few weeks later, he called me. He said he was offered a nice fight against a contender, Adelson Rodriguez, in South America. I said, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You're going to go down to South America and fight the local hero down there. You, the former heavyweight champ of the world who just went 12 rounds with Mike Tyson, with Catskill Thunder. Now they're going to take you down there. It's going to go the distance. He's going to win the decision. I said, James, this is not what you want for yourself. And I said, I'm gone. And I didn't care if they paid him $1 million, $10 million, $20 million, whatever. It wasn't about the money. I didn't want to see it happen. He went to Argentina. He lost a decision. It went exactly as I told him it would. And he became that opponent for the next few years, winning some, losing some. But he wasn't the same James Bone Crusher Smith anymore. He didn't train the same way. And every fighter should have a manager who could sit down with him, take the money out of the equation, and say, it's over. Because the longer you stay in this game, you risk the real chance of getting hurt. And that's definitely not what you want.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say a special shout out. Ron Lipton is in the building. Mr. Farley Wald again. George Ward is in the house. And Noah Fendlison is here, and they're all saying, hi, Randy. Good evening, Randy. I got a lot of fans tonight, Randy.
Absolutely.
Everybody giving you shout-outs.
Noah Fendlison, I call him the toughest guy in the sport. A year ago, right around this time last year, he had cancer surgery.
Ooh.
He went through chemo after that. He had 12 chemo treatments. It was like every other week he had a chemo treatment. And he wasn't feeling great after each one, but he was reading his boxing. He was with his family, his friends, and everything. He did it. He came through it, and he is in fine shape now. One of our lead Randy's Raiders. I call him the toughest guy on the board, and indeed, he probably is. So, Noel Fendlison, welcome to the show, and let's say, yeah, let's come on, yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's... I love how you're able to get all of the Randy's Raiders and just patch them in as they did that. That is incredible, Marcello.
Yeah, I just went out to the corner and hired a bunch of guys to come in. Gave them all a couple bucks.
Oh, you know what? Through the blazing television lights here and everything, yes, I'm looking into the studio there, and there's a bunch of guys in there.
Yeah.
Can you have them cheer one more time for Noel?
Yeah, sure. They are so good. They are able to do it the exact same way every single time. I've trained them well.
Wow, that is terrific. We're Randy's Ringside tonight, coming to you from my Randy's Ringside on Facebook. I don't know how we did this, but years
we're
ago,
doing a little differently tonight, Randy, because
Okay.
we usually do it on your regular Randy Commish Gordon Facebook page, but you do have a Randy's Ringside page. And the thing is that when you do one of your streaming sessions, of which I watch every night, 8:30 p.m., it's really available to just basically only really your friends, people that you're friends with, and you're friends with a lot of people on Facebook, so it's not that big of a deal. But when you do it on your Randy's Ringside page, it opens up a whole new possibility. People who don't know you, people who are just fans of boxing, can type in boxing, can go out through the internet and find a boxing, and it makes you available to more people, because I think you are the encyclopedia of boxing. So I think more and more people should have access to you and watch Randy's Ringside. So we're trying to branch out. We're trying to get it out there. We're trying to get everybody. We're trying to hopefully people put the word out, get more viewers here to watch Randy, to ask some questions, to engage. You got a great fan base. Absolutely, Farley. He's got an amazing fan base. You got some loyal people out here. And we're all huge, big fans of boxing. And that's why we sit here and we watch you. Because we love you, Randy.
Thanks so much, guys. Thank you. These guys are amazing. These guys are truly
Worth every penny. Worth every penny.
Okay.
All right.
Just tell them, give them some of the drinks. Just let them just sit back.
I pay him in Coors Light. There you go.
Big Georgie Ward and Bobby Orlando watching our Pillars of Strength over at the New York State Athletic Commission. And George, we went to that, Queen Ronnie and I went to that Mexican place the other day. I think you had paid a visit to, and I had to text Georgie and ask him, hey, Big George, worth going to? He said, yeah. I don't know what that was, just an enchilada or something. It had to be around this big, whatever, tortilla. It was huge. But we were able to finish it. You do 8 hot dogs or whatever, you could finish that, but we are actually, before we continue here, and I've got our fighter of the day to remember. Oliver Tuthill, one of our Randy's Raiders, every day sends me a new fighter of the day, and I try to get in as many as I can. Before I go there, October 1st, which is going to be a Saturday, I'm going to be heading with Queen Ronnie out to Chicago. We got a big family function, and I want to get in tip-top shape. Looking to lose, Marcello, about 10 pounds. So we're cutting it off. Mm-hmm. We have cut 4 pounds, and that's even eating all those hot dogs.
What are you talking about, Randy? You got to run around in the shower to get wet. You're so skinny. You need to add a couple pounds. What are you talking about?
No, 10 more pounds. 10 more pounds. Right in the midsection. 10 pounds. Just
you got to build a roof over your tool shed, Randy. That's what I always got to say.
Okay, our fighter of the day, as sent to us by Oliver Tuthill. This one is a young lady by the name of Sarah Berman. And Sarah Berman was born in Germany, lives in Germany. She was born in 1990. She stands 5'4". She is undefeated. She's 14-0, 7 knockouts. She holds one of the many trinket belts out there. She's a minimum weight, a straw weight, which is a little bit lighter than light flyweight. But hey, one of my very favorite fighters in the world happens to be at this weight as a premier champion. I'm talking about Seniesa Estrada. So if Sarah Berman wants to step up and face Seniesa Estrada, give her a call, and Seniesa will take care of business there. But you know what? Sarah Berman is 14-0. She's got 7 knockouts. Here's the thing. In her 14-0 record, I don't like doing this, but it's a fact. Of her 14 fights, 9 have come against opponents who had either 500 records, maybe 0-0, 1-1, something like that, or losing records. In fact, one of the girls that she beat had an amazing record of 16 wins, 63 defeats. I mean, to me...
63, 6-3.
6-3, exactly. To have that many losses. So
Could
what?
she pronounce her own name anymore after 63 losses?
Well, and actually, if you go to the record on BoxRec of Sarah Berman and you look up who that young lady was, 16, 63, and 7. I mean,
I'm looking it up right now.
she is not. I mean, there's again one of my very favorites. She's not Jessica McCaskill. She's not Michaela Mayer. She is not Sinisa Estrada. This one is, she's what can I tell you? She's a fighter. She is a fighter, and she kind of looks like you would picture. It's like some of the male fighters look. She is not one of these really super attractive, very gifted females. So, I think Marcello, you might be looking this one up.
Yeah. Are you sure? How do you spell Sarah Berman's last name?
I think it's Bermann. So it's Sarah, Sarah Berman. And one of those opponents she did fight was a 16 and 63 opponent, 16, 63, and 7 draws. But Ms. Berman holds secondary titles.
Oh, I think her last name is Bormann.
Yes.
Bormann. Bormann.
And I actually, if you do click on her, I think you will see exactly what I'm talking about. Kind of tough. And by the way, not kind of tough. Did you see? And I absolutely applaud the Williams sisters, both of them. But Serena Williams, in her 3+ hour match the other day, the young lady who beat her came off with such class that I think we have to become just absolute fans of hers. She just handled it oh so well. And as great as she is, and Sinisa Estrada is one thing, but Serena Williams, I don't think she handled it all that well. Her heart was breaking. It was her last one. But still, that most of the times you win, and sometimes you do lose. As soon as it was over, she gave like an obligatory, she walked across and gave her like a little 5 and kind of ignored her. And the young lady sat there and waited for her turn for the interview. And when it was her turn for the interview, she praised that Ms. Williams. It was tough for her because she was beating an idol of hers, and yet that idol of hers did her no justice. Instead of saying, let's put your hands together for her, this is the passing of the torch, if you will, whatever. Right. I didn't think she handled it all that well. But so I don't know. Did you get to?
I did. She fought Claudia Ferenczi, who is a bantamweight, who has a record of 20 wins, 97 losses.
That was another one she fought, yeah.
And 8 draws, who is currently suspended by the British Boxing Board of Control. It says here on BoxRec, she's from Slovakia, but 20 wins, 97 losses. And when she fought Bormann, she was a record of 16, 63, and 7.
Unbelievable.
Unwinnable.
So I mean, where does any commission come off allowing somebody to keep losing that many times? And then, okay, she's only lost 80 times. I'll let her fight again.
Well, it says she's suspended by the British Boxing Board of Control.
Oh, geez.
She's got a rating of a 0.5 star.
Wait a minute. The British Boxing Board of Control allows guys with losing records. There was a guy who just retired a couple of years ago, Christian Late, who had over 200 losses. British Boxing Board of Control. So anyway, this Sarah Berman, our next fight's going to be on September 24th, and she's going in against 10, 4, and 5 draws. Liz Cortizo in defense of her WBC silver trinket title.
silver trinket title.
So, I mean, that's our fighter of the day.
So
Sarah
can I get a
Berman.
silver trinket title if I hand in a couple cereal box tops?
Yes.
Melon.
Can we get some more applause for Ms. Sarah Berman?
From Sarah Berman. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay, guys. Okay. Now, I forgot to mention, I want to give a big shout out to Francisco Estrada because he returned to action on Saturday after he was out of action for about 18 months, and he beat countryman Artie Cortez. And he beat him 115-112 on 2 scorecards, 114-113 on another, unanimous decision over 12 rounds. Let me tell you, Estrada did not figure on this, and Artie Cortez really did himself proud as he went in against one of the best fighters in the world. But now it's going to be Juan Francisco Estrada. He is in negotiations for another fight against Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. It was Gonzalez whom he beat a year and a half ago. Let's see what happens when they fight again. Can't wait for that fight. Now, there's a fight coming up this Friday in New Jersey. Atlantic City is returning to action, and it's going to be a 140-pound bout between Joseph Ardorno and Hugo Roldan. This one's going to be shown on Showtime. And the very next day, this weekend, we'll tell you about it quickly because during the week, we're going to break it down for you. There is a fight on ESPN Plus, a fight card featuring 2 outstanding female championship fights. It's going to be Claressa Shields, 12-0, against Savannah Marshall, 12-0. But Savannah's got like 10 knockouts to Shields 2. And this is going to be for all their middleweight title belts. This is I think, one of the best female matchups you could make. And also on the card, another tremendous female fight between Michaela Mayer and Alicia Baumgartner. And this one's going to be 10 rounds for Mayer's WBO and IBF 130-pound titles and Baumgartner's WBC 130-pound title. Also on the card is going to be a bunch. I have never seen this many female bouts all piled into one television show. And we'll begin to break it down later in the week. But the 2 main events that night, Michaela Mayer against Alicia Baumgartner and Claressa Shields against Savannah Marshall. It doesn't get much better than that. Then, of course, the following week is going to be another big one, and it's going to be Canelo Alvarez against Triple G. And, of course, we will break that down. But this weekend, and on Randy's Ringside tomorrow, and on Thursday and Friday, we'll talk about that big female fight. We'll talk about the ratings. I want to tell you about some of the best fighters of each of the decades, which I've broken down for you. I'm doing it for my book, my last chapter, the chapter of lists. And it's amazing, once again, because from 2010 to 2019, the fighter of the decade was Floyd Mayweather Jr., who fought 10 times during that decade, and he was the fighter of the decade. In my book, the fighter of the decade, even though he lost to Mayweather, was Manny Pacquiao. He took his chances. He stepped up. He fought this one. He fought that one. He was my fighter of the decade. But when you hear about some of these other decades, who the fighters were, maybe 1 to 10, and how many fights, a lot of guys, Mayweather did 10 fights in a decade. Many of these guys fought twice that amount in a single year. We'll be talking about them later on this week, only on Randy's Ringside. So, Marcello.
Yes, sir.
We had fun here tonight on Randy's Ringside.
I think we did. I think everybody had fun.
Now, are we going to be putting this up on YouTube as well?
We will be putting this up on YouTube and coming in the, as we progress with Randy's Ringside and get the ball rolling and keep it moving, we're actually going to start streaming live on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. So people will be able to tune in on YouTube or on Facebook, watch it simultaneously live on either. But like we do it every time, you'll be able to watch it. For right now, you can watch it right here on Facebook Live. And then tomorrow, if you want to recap or watch it, you can go to Randy's Ringside right on YouTube. Subscribe to Randy's Ringside on YouTube, and you can watch all of the special editions right here from Studio M of Randy's Ringside. And more to come, obviously. More to come, right?
Yeah. You know what I was going to do? I was going to actually have you, before you told about being live on YouTube, because I know you set up your drums over there.
Yes, I got my drums. I got my chorus over here. Everybody.
It's unbelievable how Marcello can do this. He set up his drums in this new studio.
Yes.
So Marcello, I'm going to take back everything you said about Facebook Live.
Okay.
And now I'm going to say, so Marcello, we have a very special announcement for you. And you know what? You hit the drums, and then you could tell us what's going to go on YouTube. So hit the drums.
Hit the drums. Ready? So actually, here, let me do something even cooler. Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, and people around the world, coming soon to Facebook Live, it's Randy's Ringside. And coming to YouTube Live, Randy's Ringside. So now you can watch Randy's Ringside on Facebook Live or on YouTube right here live from Studio M. How's that?
There it is. So I'm not sure where that other voice came from, but man, you've got so much equipment down here. I love those drums. I mean, you've been playing for how long now?
About 45 seconds.
You sound like you've been playing for at least 45 years.
Yeah, there you go.
Marcello, thank you so much. We'll be back with you very, very soon.
Yes, sir.
I'll be back on Randy's Ringside tomorrow night from Studio A over in Melville, Long Island, New York. Thanks, everybody, for watching, and hopefully the Mets picked it up. But if they didn't, there's still a few more weeks to go in the season. They still are going to go to the playoffs. I still say they win the World Series. We'll see what happens. But we got boxing, and we got so much coming up. We'll talk about it more tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. on Randy's Ringside. Thanks for watching, everybody, and stay safe.